Welcome to this video, guys. In this video we're going to learn about the RESTful API and HTTP methods also. Okay, RESTful API is it is an architecture style for designing the network applications. Okay, it is called representational state transfer API. Okay, so it has set of rules, features, okay, which will indicate how to do, okay, and what is the process to do. Okay, let me go through one by one feature. First one is stateless, which indicates that server doesn't store any session data of the client. So whatever the client's data is there, server never store that one. So each request have to be fresh. Okay, it will treat as each request as a fresh request, because we can expose this API to n number of clients. Okay, and different platforms also. They can use in a mobile application, they can use in a web application, tablet application, whatever the application they are using, they can consume our RESTful API. So that's why it is stateless. Okay, independent, each request is would be fresh. The second one is client server architecture. I already explained. So it will separate the client and the server. Okay, it will decouple. We can say for client, we will use the terminology called front end, and for the server we can use the terminology called back end. So don't be confused about that one. Okay, next, coming to the resource based. So all the URLs which we will give, which will represent one resource which is inside the server. Let's suppose say here, this is the URL, so it is indicating the user resource here. Okay, user resource here. Similar way we can use for the movies. Okay, whatever the business things we required, we call all those things as resources. Okay, based upon the resources, okay, we will create the URLs. Coming to the HTTP methods. Okay, HTTP methods are the one which is the webs. Okay, which are the what kind of operations we have to do on those resources. These HTTP methods will indicate. Coming to the JSON format. Okay, JSON format is exchange language. Let's suppose we're speaking in English, which is the communication language between you and me, right? So in similar way, for client and server, they should have some language, right? So that is the language JSON, sorry, JavaScript object notation they will use to communicate. Okay, coming to the uniform interface, follows the consistent way to access the modify and resources. Okay, so it follows the same way, okay, each time to modify and access the resources. Okay, to coming with this HTTP methods, JSON data. Okay, so they will maintain this uniformity throughout all the clients and every APIs. Okay, let's go to the HTTP methods. Okay, so HTTP methods are the, I already told, it's the webs, okay, which will do operations on resources. Let's go one by one. The get method is used to retrieve data from the server. Okay, and the second post method, so it want to create a resource, okay, in a server, then we will use the post method. Put and patch for the update, but the put is the one which will completely replace the existing resource. But patch is not like that. Let's suppose we have 100 fields, okay, in a particular object, but we want to change one or two fields, then you can go with a patch. You don't require to replace all, right? Coming to the delete, okay, it will remove the resource from the server. Okay, in delete also we have soft delete and permanent delete. We will discuss when it comes to the coding. Okay, this is about the HTTP methods. Coming to the HTTP status codes, let's suppose we are discussing with each other. So it is like an agreement, or some discussion is happening, but based upon our expressions we can tell that this guy is not interested, this guy don't like it, okay, this guy is angry. So we can able to find the expressions, right? In a similar way, the client and server is communicating with each other, but it doesn't mean that server always say yes whatever the client says, right? So server have some expressions to tell. So that is the one is the status code. So we can say, okay, different status codes indicates a different kinds of expressions of this server. Let's suppose this 100 series, this is informational series, mostly used in a network team and DevOps guys use. Okay, okay, anyway, we'll go with the status codes which are daily useful to the developers. Okay, that is the 200 series. Okay, it is the success series, we can say. So whatever the client says, okay, server do the action successfully and returns it. Okay, we'll go to one by one. 200 success code is used, it is okay, when we retrieving the data. So whatever the data client asked, okay, server check the client authentication, everything, and he process the data and he will give the data. That is 200. 201 is for creation. When we do the resource creation, server successfully created the resources, then server will give the 201. Okay, coming to the 202, let's suppose a server given a one request. client given one request and server is accepted that request, but server takes some time to process. Let's suppose we transfer money, okay, in a lakhs or crores, then server takes some time to do that action. Okay, so in that case we'll get the 202. And finally 204 is the one, so let's suppose we want to delete a resource from server, then we will get the 204. These are all success series. Coming to the 300 series, it is again a network concept. It is a redirecting. Okay, oh, something is moved permanently and we didn't find temporarily. Okay, these kind of things, but we don't use much as a developers. Okay, coming to the 400 series, this is the most important series because this is the one which will validate everything. Okay, let's suppose let me go through one by one. 400 is the one bad request, which is indicating that the input body which is sent by the client, there is some mistake in it. Okay, let's suppose say uh, server said for the password I need 8 characters. Okay, one alphabet, one digit, like that. Some constants is kept, but client is not following those constructions. Then we, sorry, not following those instructions. Then we will get this bad request for 400. 401 is the unauthorized one, which will check the client authenticity. Is the client is already existed in our system or not? Okay, if it is not, then we will get 401. Okay, unauthorized. 403 is the forbidden, which is like apart from the authorization, we can add some more security layers of API keys. Okay, and some certificates. Then if client is not provided this kind of things, we will give the forbidden error. Coming to the 404, it's the not found. That means here client is searching for the resource, one resource like users. Users we have them, but he is searching for another resource which is not there in the server. And that case we will give the 404, not found. The final one is server errors. Okay. Now this is the server side errors. Okay. Let's suppose the client is given everything is perfect, but the thing is there is some technical issue at the server side. Okay, either you didn't handle the exception properly, we didn't given a proper error handling is not done, or some systems are failed, some technical error, you will get the 502, sorry, 500. And 502 is the bad gateway timeout, which is indicating that let's suppose say we have another dependency. Server have to go to connect to the database or file system in the external third party API. In that case, it will take some time, but the client will not wait for that much time. So in that case, we will give 502 timeout error. Coming to the 503, service unavailable. I mean, let's suppose previously server is served one service, but due to third party dependencies or other dependencies, that service is not available currently. So in that case 503 we can give. So this is about the HTTP methods and status codes, RESTful API. Let's see some best practices. Okay, some best practices are, let's suppose for each and every CRUD operations, okay, we have to use a particular methods. For create we have to use the post, for retrieve we have to use the get, for update we can use put or patch, for delete we can use the delete. So these are the methods we have to use so that properly, so any client can understand, because the REST API what we develop, it will go to each and every client like mobile client, web applications, okay, any other applications they can use. Okay, using the meaningful URLs. Okay, that means with respect to the resource we have to made these URLs. For the user resource you can use users. Let's suppose we want to get users, then you don't need to write like this get users orders. We can write functions like this get user orders, but not URLs, because we have to maintain same URL standards. Because this method functionalities, it is in JavaScript we will write in camel case, if it is in Python we will write in snake case, like that we will change, right? But in URLs we have to keep it consistent. Okay, and written proper status codes, of course based upon the status code we send, based upon that the front end developers will code or they will do the exception handling. Okay, they will show the proper alerts and messages, so status code should be a proper. And coming to the JSON format, yeah, we have to maintain a proper JSON format so they can understand. So implementing the authentication, the security is the major concern, so we have to implement the authentication either using the JWT, OAuth or API keys, some certificates. Okay, and coming to the pagination, okay, so let's suppose that we have thousands of records, hundreds of thousands of records we have. We cannot give all this data at a time. The API will crash. If you're given API is not crash, then user cannot see all those records at once, right? So we have to maintain a pagination. That means for every page we will set up some limit. Let's suppose say one page should get 10 records or 20 records. So we can give this kind of records, so the data set would be less and API would be fast and user can see it. Okay, coming to the versioning. Okay, so we have to maintaining the versioning, because in day to day when you do started programming, what will happen, they will give some set of requirements for one sprint or 1 month. After 6 months they will come up, we have a new requirements, okay, new products we create, so we have a new requirement, so again you have to modify this API. So that's why you have to maintain the versioning of this API, but make sure you should have always a backward compatibility. Okay, coming to the rest. Okay, I have given this one, but it is not so, soap is not using nowadays, so I am only focusing on the rest only. So we're using the protocol HTTP. Okay, by adding the certifications, we can get HTTP as more secure. Coming to the format, we use only JSON. Okay, JavaScript object notation. I will tell you about that one in later. Yes, it is lightweight. Okay, security. Yeah, we have to implement that one. OAuth, GWT It is flexible. That means we can use everywhere when all kinds of clients. This is about RESTful APIs and HTTP methods. And the next video we'll meet. Thank you for listening.